Hi everyone, Wake the Me Bake Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Kacey Musgraves record, Deeper Well. This is the fifth full-length, official, commercial studio album from Nashville-based singer and songwriter Miss Kacey Musgraves, someone whose life and career has been going through some major changes over the last 5 years. The way her profile exploded after the release of 2018's Golden Hour, which is likely to go down as her biggest commercial peak. The LP eventually ended up going platinum after its release, because it really did spread Kacey's name far and wide outside of the country sphere, because in the process of generating this level of attention for her music, Kacey cut off a lot of the rustic and authentic country aesthetics that made earlier records like Same Trailer, Different Park so fantastic. And I know Golden Hour is a record that to this day a lot of people will stand by, and I understand why. It has a lot of personal songs and very pretty sounds on it, but for me as an overall album experience, I just think the entire thing sounds very washed out, very bland, and that's not just by country album standards or singer-songwriter album standards, really any standard, honestly. But look, at the very least, Golden Hour was better than the horrendously mastered breakup album to follow several years down the road, Star-Crossed, where I think Kacey tried even harder to dig for pop appeal. The project had a pretty strong first week of sales, but things petered out past that point. There were some kind of mixed professional and fan reviews, and I think with hopes of another Sheryl Crow type pop crossover moment, Kacey has basically returned to what she knows works on her latest LP here, Deeper Well.
That's what I like to hear. Power to Golden Hour. It's a 10 out of 10. Review it again. It's a 10 out of 10. It's your worst take. I hope you die in an earthquake.
Okay, you're doing too much.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, on this record, I think Kacey is slipping back into something a little more comfortable. But for me, it's having an effect similar to when I heard Star-Crossed for the first time. It's somehow making me nostalgic for an era of Kacey's career that I'm not even crazy about Golden Hour, because as excessively dreamy and pillowy as tracks like Oh What a World and Space Cowboy were, the performances at the very least came across as more organic than what we're being presented with here. Case in point, the title track of this album, which has these very artificial chorus effects on Kacey's voice that make them sound a little uncanny valley. And this isn't the only point on the record where Kacey's vocals are dolled up to a fault. I mean, sometimes Miss Musgraves and her producers know well enough to just let her singing ride, just let it be, like on Moving Out and Too Good to Be True and Sway. But simultaneously, even these tracks fail to grab me because I think the instrumentation and presentation of the songs on this record are just a lot softer than what they were on Golden Hour. The overall vibe of this record is a lot breezier, much more acoustic, which would be fine if not for the feathery instrumentation making me feel like I've chugged a bottle of NyQuil. It also doesn't help that occasionally the tunes are super derivative too, like in the case of the opening track, Cardinal, which interestingly enough is all about cardinals potentially representing messages and signs from past loved ones. But the verse melodies are almost literally Nelly Furtado's Say It Right. Meanwhile, the verses on Too Good to Be True are pretty much Sweet Child of Mine. And even when we are getting a more original work melodically and instrumentally, such as Moving Out, a song whose lyrics are about a place where a lot of memories were made and having to move out of it, move on. It's a thoughtful track, but the instrumentation is just about as wallpaper as it could possibly get. The lead melody is average at best, and Kacey's breathy vocals don't bring that much to the table, which makes this one of those albums in an artist's catalog that are way less fun and entertaining to listen to, but because the writing is a bit more mature, you have to kind of respect it or else people are going to look at you weird. And look, I do think some more thoughtful stories and themes come through on some of these tracks on the writing end. Lonely Millionaire, for example, does have some very common and obvious observations, but it's a story, it's a point of view still worth telling about how money can't buy everything, especially happiness. The melodies and chord progressions from this track are also another standout thing about them that, interestingly, I've already enjoyed from Jid's Cody Blue 31. Kacey sounds like she pretty much borrowed the chords or like interpolated part of the instrumental from that track for this, which is a pretty interesting crossover to say the least. Also, big shout out to the lyrics on Giver/Taker, which is all about toxic relationship dynamics, neediness, Kacey just showing a greater awareness of these things right now than she generally has in the past. There's also the title track that I'm not crazy about instrumentally and vocally, but I do like the song's lyrics about changing and growing and separating things and people from your life that have a negative impact on it, drain from it. And then the song Sway, for me, reads like one of the most philosophically attuned songs on the record, with Kacey singing on the topic of wanting to learn about moving through life's many obstacles and challenges with grace and poise. The issue is, though, with the sudden group choral outro and tabletop galloping beats, this is one of the most dull sounding songs on the entire record. I guess there are a few moments on the LP too where the lyrics start to get a little woo-woo, not just on the title track when Kacey is mentioning her Saturn returning, but also on Jade Green, which is a ballad all for the Crystal Girlies, or The Architect, which is kind of an intelligent design anthem. For real though, who's making these apples? They're sweet as heck. As far as the finish of this album is concerned, it's got its weak points. While Heaven is a very stripped back acoustic moment on the record, I do love the guitar passages on it quite a bit. They have almost a medieval quality to them. Kacey's vocal melody stands out quite a bit too. I think the lyrics on this track are very much in line with a lot of what she was saying on Lonely Millionaire as well. But the love sickness continues into bad writing territory when we cross over into the track Anime Eyes, where Kacey describes her eyes turning into anime eyes when she sees her lover. Then there's a closing track, which is all about not being afraid to love the only person who wants to kind of give you all their love. And as far as song structure and instrumental layers, it's not a very grand closer. Really kind of sees the album fizzling out, if anything. And all these maturity points the record's been building up to this point seemingly go out the window, with Kacey sounding almost smitten to a fault. So yeah, unfortunately I was not really into this Kacey Musgraves record. Between the bland instrumentals, the forgettable melodies, the lyrics I wish I could forget, as well as the average vocal performances, there wasn't a lot on this record that I enjoyed. I'm feeling a decent 2 Light 4 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Kacey Musgraves, forever.